The slip space veil tore open with a thunderous bloom of violet light, and Battlefleet Dawnstrike emerged over the pale glow of the Perseus frontier. The starfield shimmered with dust streams that curved like frozen rivers, beautiful only to those who had never considered what hid inside them. Admiral Rhea Vance stood at the forward viewport of her flagship, TSV Resolute, hands clasped behind her back, gaze tracing the faint distortions drifting across the void. A soft chime broke the silence. "Distress signal repeated, Admiral," said Commander Holt, her executive officer. "Origin still reads as Argyon 4. Weak transmission, low data integrity." Rhea didn't turn. "Same pulse intervals?" "Yes." "Identical." "Too identical," she murmured. Signals rarely repeated perfectly, not across this region. The frontier was a graveyard of static storms and gravitational pockets, everything warped. But this signal was clean, too clean. Deliberate. She exhaled slowly. Dawnstrike had been patrolling the frontier for 12 days, and the quiet had settled over the crew like a weight. Rhea trusted silence even less than she trusted the Dominion. "Overlay its source," she ordered. The projection flickered above the table. A small colony world hovered within a net of light, Argyon 4, population just under 20,000. Too remote to defend with permanent garrisons. Too insignificant to spare more than a basic planetary shield array. Too exposed. A colony just like Argyon 3. Rhea forced that memory aside and focused on the map. "Any civilian traffic?" "Nothing in or out," Holt replied. "No trade ships. No patrol craft." "You're thinking what I'm thinking." Holt nodded. "It's bait." Of course it was. The Dominion had learned that humans responded to distress calls with an almost stubborn loyalty. They used that compassion like a fisherman's lure. Rhea had seen too many dead communities left behind because humanity didn't arrive fast enough. "Not today." She pivoted toward her crew. "Bring us closer to the asteroid belt. Maintain silent running until we have a full picture." The bridge snapped to coordinated motion. Officers moved with practiced precision, consoles shifting to dim combat hues. Rhea watched them work, calm, disciplined, the edge of fatigue visible but buried beneath hardened resolve. Dawnstrike wasn't just any fleet, it was a formation rebuilt from survivors of 3 brutal wars. They didn't need speeches to be ready. As the Resolute glided toward the belt, the sensors flickered with faint ripples, subtle distortions sliding between the rock clusters. The belt itself stretched like a jagged ring around the system, thick with broken stone and fractured metal from some ancient celestial event. A perfect place for an ambush. Holt broke the silence. "You think the Dominion's here?" Rhea answered without hesitation. "If they're not yet, they will be. Argyon 4 is too isolated. They'd see it the same way we do, a soft point." The sensor officer lifted her head. "Admiral, readings in Sector 4. Energy shadows, intermittent. Types? Unclear. Dispersed. Could be engine wakes, but they're faint. Someone's masking themselves." Rhea felt a familiar spark of grim anticipation. "Good. They want us cautious. They think we'll hesitate." Holt glanced at her with a half-smile. "They don't know you well enough." "They don't know Dawnstrike," she corrected. The ship continued its silent drift. No comms. No powered shields. Hull temperature regulated to match background levels. They became a ghost sliding through the dark. Rhea studied the asteroid distribution, noting natural bottlenecks, choke points, and cover lanes. It would take a strategist with competence, but not creativity, to arrange a kill zone here. And CAR-UL commanders were rarely creative. "Admiral," Holt said quietly, "Colony Governor from Argyon 4 requests connection. Audio only." Rhea hesitated. "Patch it through." A trembling voice filled the air. "This is Governor Lathan. We've detected unknown ships near the moon's far side. Our defenses are minimal. Please, tell me help is coming." Rhea steadied her tone. "This is Admiral Vance of Battlefleet Dawnstrike. We're close. Keep your people indoors, maintain shield protocols, and do not transmit further unless absolutely necessary. We're scared, the governor whispered. We heard what happened to those colonies last month. Rhea closed her eyes briefly. She'd seen those reports: towns burned, families lost, the Dominion leaving their message in ruins. It hardened her like stone, but she kept her voice gentle. You're not alone. We'll handle whatever's out here. Thank you, Admiral. The line cut. Holt stood silent beside her, understanding the weight on her shoulders without needing words. Rhea focused again on the void. Prep the fleet. If there's a trap, we spring it on our terms. Moments slipped by as their formation drifted deeper into the belt. Light fractured across drifting stone. Shadows lengthened. The sensor ghosts grew more distinct, like predators circling just beyond torchlight. Then the air changed. A rumble of overlapping energy signatures washed across the hull. Red warning arcs lit the bridge. The sensor board erupted with a sharp burst. Multiple contacts! The officer shouted. 40, 50, more decloaking across every axis. Rhea stepped forward as the void ignited with harsh Dominion blues. Warships emerged like jagged predators from behind asteroids, cruisers, destroyers, spearhead platforms forming a tightening sphere around Dawnstrike. Holt's voice dropped to a whisper. Gods, they were waiting for us. Rhea's expression turned cold and steady. Good, she said. Let's see how confident they are when their prey bites back. Dominion logos burned bright across the nearest carrier. Its main transmitter flared, preparing a message. Rhea lifted her chin, meeting the enemy's vast silhouette as if staring down a storm. Battle stations, she ordered. Silent running is over. The calm vanished. Dawnstrike came alive, shields powering, engines flaring, weapons systems snapping online with metallic precision. Outside, the Dominion fleet expanded its net, confident, overwhelming, utterly certain of its advantage. They believed they had trapped a vulnerable patrol group. They had no idea they had cornered Battlefleet Dawnstrike. Rhea let the tension settle for a heartbeat. Commander, she said softly, prepare for engagement. The bridge lights dimmed. The hum of weapons built to a steady thrum. Then the Dominion finished decloaking, their formation sealing any notion of retreat. Rhea's eyes narrowed. So, she whispered, the game begins. The Dominion fleet completed its encirclement with mechanical precision. Razor-edge silhouettes drifted into place, their engines glowing like cold embers. A harsh pulse of blue light rippled outward, an open channel. Terran fleet! A guttural voice boomed, translated through the Resolute's audio filters. You occupy Dominion-controlled space. Power down your vessels. You will be boarded, processed, and reassigned. Resistance will result in termination. Commander Holt scoffed under his breath. They sound confident. Rhea nodded once to her comm officer. Open return channel. The bridge hushed. This is Admiral Rhea Vance, she said calmly. Battlefleet Dawnstrike acknowledges your message. A small pause. We decline? A sharp ripple of laughter broke out across the Dominion line, captured through their own open-channel chatter. Then their lead carrier emitted a low hum. Admiral Vance, the alien voice snarled, your courage is misplaced. You face a tactical force designed to overwhelm your species. Rhea's tone remained steady. Then you should know something. You picked the wrong fleet. The Dominion cut the channel. A second later, the void erupted. Searing beams slammed into Dawnstrike's outer lines, kicking 2 Terran frigates into instant firestorms. Wreckage spiraled across the belt. The shockwave rattled the Resolute's hull, and several consoles flickered. Shields at 68%, someone shouted. Redistribute power, Rhea ordered. Hold formation. Holt steadied himself against the railing. They're trying to break us before we maneuver. They think that'll work, she replied. Let's show them otherwise. Another barrage struck, scattering metallic debris through the rocks. Dawnstrike's gunners responded with focused retaliatory bursts, but the Dominion's sheer numbers kept pressure relentless. Enemy cruisers advanced, blocking escape paths like blades fencing in prey. Yet Rhea didn't flinch. "Bring up the Gravwake model," she said. The tactical officer froze. "Admiral, that protocol's still in trial phase. It's also the only reason we survived the Terni's rift," Holt muttered. Rhea leaned toward the display. "They're calculating our trajectories based on conventional slip-space decay. So we give them unconventional." Understanding dawned across the officer's face. "Activating Gravwake flicker." A shiver ran through the ship as engines shifted into an erratic microburst pattern. Across the fleet, Terran warships mirrored the adjustment, each altering gravimetric signatures with randomized vectors. Dominion weapons fired, and missed. Beams twisted off course as their tracking models misread the gravitational distortions. Rhea watched the enemy's formations ripple with confusion. Holt grinned. "They didn't expect that. They rarely expect anything from us," she replied. "Tactical, return fire. Target the stabilizers on their forward cruisers." Terran cannons roared to life. Plasma arcs sliced through the dark, smashing into Dominion hulls at coordinated angles. One cruiser lost control and spun into a drifting rock, exploding in a bright fracture of blue light. The belt amplified every shock, scattering shards across the battlefield. Dominion chatter grew frantic. Rhea heard snippets through comm interference, disbelief, frustration, clipped commands. "There's shifting pattern," the sensors officer called. "Enemy is trying to reposition around the asteroids." Rhea spotted opportunity instantly. "Good. Lure them deeper." The fleet wove into the maze of stone, engines dimmed to reduce flare signatures. Massive rocks loomed on all sides, some tumbling slowly, others rotating in silent spirals. The Dominion followed, their confidence overriding caution. Holt glanced at her. "If they don't know this terrain, they'll lose half their advantage." "That's the point." As the Dominion pushed forward, their tight formation fractured. Several cruisers clipped rock edges, shields crackling under stress. A destroyer scraped a massive fragment and veered off kilter. "They expected us to die on their schedule," Rhea said softly. "But they entered our arena." Terran turrets fired in short, compact bursts, each angled to ricochet beams across stone surfaces and catch unsuspecting Dominion hulls. A clever tactic born from the fleet's long history of improvisation. "Admiral," Holt said suddenly, "we're receiving another call from Argyon 4. It's urgent." Rhea motioned for the channel. "Admiral? Our sensors picked up weapons signatures. Are we under attack?" Governor Lathan's voice trembled. "No Dominion landings detected yet," Rhea answered. "Stay sheltered. Keep shields active. Please, we're afraid. They took Argyon 3 the same way." Those words tightened something deep in her chest. She kept her voice steady. "I won't let that happen again." "Thank you, Admiral. We trust you." The channel closed, leaving an ache beneath her calm exterior. Holt didn't comment. He knew the weight she carried. Rhea turned to tactical. "Prepare the mines." The officer hesitated. "Inside an asteroid cluster? That's where we need them." Dozens of small grav mines deployed from Dawnstrike ships, drifting almost invisibly between rocks. Their triggers armed silently. "No," Rhea said. Terran ships surged forward, engines brightening. Dominion cruisers pursued aggressively, unaware they were being drawn past the mines. The first detonations shook the entire belt. A wave of gravitational distortion tore through the rocks, collapsing unstable formations. Shards crashed into enemy hulls. 2 Dominion destroyers folded under the pressure, crushed like tin under a hammer. A carrier's left wing fractured, venting raw plasma into the void. Dominion comms erupted with disbelief. "Unexpected collapse! Recalculate! Terrans manipulated the field. How?" Rhea watched the chaos unfold, her expression hardening. "They're learning." Holt arched a brow. "But too slowly." The enemy, though battered, pressed on. Reinforcements blinked into the system, their signatures flaring like new storms on the horizon. "Additional Dominion forces inbound," sensors warned. "Large numbers." Rhea assessed the incoming shapes, More cruisers, several heavy platforms, a battleship with a distinctive crown-shaped array. Holt exhaled sharply. They plan for a full extermination. Rhea nodded once. They believe overwhelming firepower ends every battle. He looked at her. And you? She stared at the newly arrived behemoths with steady focus. I believe adaptability ends empires. The Resolute shook under renewed fire. The battlefield narrowed. Asteroids shattered into debris clouds. Terran ships reformed lines, battered but unbroken. Admiral, Tactical called. Enemy formations tightening. They're preparing another volley. Rhea straightened. Then we adapt again. No hesitation. Outside, the Dominion spread across the belt, confident that reinforcements shifted the balance entirely in their favor. Rhea studied the chaotic spread of data streams, her mind fitting pieces together before anyone else could parse the picture. Holt leaned closer. What are you thinking? That they've overcommit, she said softly. And that's where we start winning. The lights flickered as the main cannons charged. The Dominion fleet surged. Rhea lifted her chin, eyes locked on the converging storm. Round 2, she murmured. Let's finish teaching. Dominion reinforcements spread across the belt with sweeping arcs of blue fire, flooding the region with enough energy to scorch entire continents. Their confidence returned as fresh hulls filled the gaps left by earlier losses. The skies seemed to tighten around Dawnstrike like a vice. Yet Rhea Vance stood composed. On the Resolute's command deck, streams of enemy trajectories mapped themselves across holographic space. Rhea's eyes moved quickly, reading patterns forming beneath the noise, tiny hesitations in timing, flaws in Dominion coordination. Their overwhelming strength created its own vulnerabilities. They're adjusting formations, Holt said. Trying to prevent another trap. They're copying us, Rhea answered. And they don't know how. She magnified a cluster of reinforcement signatures on screen. The movements were stiff, uniform, without the fluid improvisation that marked humanity's best. Dominion ships obeyed doctrine with unquestioning precision, but in complex terrain that rigidity turned into weakness. Time for us to reshape the field, she said. Signal the fleet. Spiral formation. The bridge officer blinked. All ships, Admiral? That maneuver requires constant sync. One mistake. And we lose ships, yes, Rhea finished. We risk that, or we let the Dominion grind us down. Execute. Orders rippled through Dawnstrike. Engines flared in synchronized bursts. The fleet began revolving into layered spirals, ships weaving between each other with impossible closeness, exchanging attack rolls every few seconds. It was a formation that only humans could manage, born from decades of fighting threats that never allowed predictable tactics. As the spirals tightened, Terran fire converged with sudden force. Direct hit on enemy cruiser, Tactical shouted. Second volley cutting through their rear flank. Dominion officers tried to adjust, but their predictive models couldn't track Dawnstrike's shifting geometry. Every time they reoriented, the Terran pattern changed again. Human ships darted through narrow asteroid gaps, twisting momentum to redirect force. The Dominion's coordination frayed. Rhea watched cruisers collide in desperate attempts to reposition. Their lines buckled under constant disorientation. One destroyer attempted a sharp turn but clipped a tumbling stone mass, tearing a gash across its hull. Admiral, Holt said, noting the enemy's wavering posture. They're losing cohesion. Exploit it. Dawnstrike surged. The spirals expanded outward like a blooming steel flower, unleashing precise barrages that cut holes through enemy ranks. Rhea felt the momentum shift, not through charts or numbers, but in the air itself. It was the subtle rise of hope people felt when survival became possible again. Then the Dominion's central carrier broadcast a furious command burst. Its massive engines spun, repositioning the beast toward Dawnstrike's flagship. Gun ports unfolded along its sides, glowing with threatening brilliance. Kavor Resh had decided to intervene personally. Rhea narrowed her eyes. So the strategist reveals himself. Holt shook his head. He must be desperate. Desperation makes commanders reckless. she replied. The Resolute's hull vibrated as a near-miss beam carved past the bow. Shattered asteroid fragments scattered like metallic rain. The Dominion carrier advanced with heavy, deliberate strokes, clearing debris by blasting through it. Admiral, Tactical warned, they're focusing everything on us. That means they're ignoring our flanks, she said. Good. Redirect fire support to the right wing. Make them pay for tunnel vision. Terran ship TSV Halcyon shot forward, unleashing concentrated volleys against exposed Dominion vessels. Another human destroyer followed, raking enemy armor with slicing plasma trails. Dawnstrike pressed the advantage, each ship adjusting microseconds ahead of enemy fire. The Dominion's frustration bled through intercepted comms. Their calculations couldn't predict human movements, and their doctrine wasn't built to improvise. Covor's voice cut in through a stolen channel. Terran Admiral, your tactics defy logic. Explain how your fleet adapts so quickly. Rhea didn't bother responding. She focused on the carrier's energy readings. Its forward cannons charged with an intensity that bent the air around the projection. Holt, she said. Prepare for close-quarters engagement. His eyebrows rose. You want to duel a command carrier? I want to end its influence. The fleet adjusted as the Resolute advanced, weaving between bursts of hostile fire. The carrier loomed, its armored plates glowing with heat. Blue-white energy pulsed along its spine. Rhea watched its firing cycle. Timing was everything. Tactical, she said. On my mark, execute a lateral drift. The officer acknowledged, fingers hovering over controls. The Dominion cannon fired, a condensed beam that tore a scorching path through space. Mark! The Resolute veered sharply, the beam scraping past its left shielding, ripping sparks across the hull. But the shift positioned Dawnstrike's flagship directly beside the carrier's exposed flank. Fire! Terran cannons roared. Explosions rolled across the carrier's armor, forcing its weapons offline momentarily. Sparks erupted along its surface. The sound of cheering broke out across the Resolute's bridge, but Rhea's expression stayed focused. They're not finished, she said. Indeed, the carrier adjusted course, seeking to ram them or force a collision. Dominion ships nearby pushed to support it, but Dawnstrike continued pressing outward, intercepting reinforcements before they could close. Admiral, sensors reported. Dominion acceleration patterns are erratic. They're losing unity. They're losing confidence, Rhea corrected. She magnified the enemy's internal tactical grid. Predictions jittered, recalculations overlapping, their algorithms visibly failing as the situation degraded. Dominion officers argued over channels, rare cracks in their disciplined structure. Admiral, Holt murmured, you're breaking them. No, she said. They're breaking themselves. We just gave them the necessary push. A sudden jolt rocked the Resolute as debris from a destroyed Dominion frigate slammed into its shielding. Warning lights flashed. Hull stress rising, engineering warned. Rhea steadied herself. Maintain position. Prepare debris shields. The bridge vibrated as Terran generators projected a pulse barrier, redirecting the drifting fragments. In that instant, Rhea saw an opportunity, a gap in the Dominion lines near their command sphere. She pointed. We strike there. Holt studied the opening. That leads straight to the carrier's core escorts. That's where it hurts most. She opened fleet-wide comms. Dawnstrike, converge on Vector Gamma 7. Break their center. Press the line. Ships responded instantly. Terran destroyers cut across the gap, cannons spinning arcs of fire that tore through weakened enemy vessels. Frigates streamed behind them, launching controlled bursts into exposed engines. The spirals tightened again, compressing into a hammer that crashed into the Dominion's critical node. The enemy center collapsed. Covor's startled command echoed through fragmented comms. Their formation, how is it adapting again? They weren't supposed to. His voice dissolved into static. Rhea exhaled, the faintest sign of release. He's realizing it. Holt nodded. Realizing what? That he's fighting the wrong fleet. A final burst from Dawnstrike shattered an escort cruiser, opening a direct line between the Resolute and the Dominion carrier. The Dominion carrier's hull glowed with a harsh, swelling radiance. Light gathered along armored ridges, pulsing in violent waves as its core reached unstable density. The energy buildup bled into the surrounding vacuum, bending shadows and distorting sensor feeds across Dawnstrike's displays. Rhea Vance studied the readings with steady focus. The ship wasn't preparing a heavy cannon shot. This was something far larger. A catastrophic discharge capable of erasing most of the asteroid field. "Admiral," engineering warned, "that core spike will create a shockwave strong enough to crush everything within thousands of kilometers." Holt's expression tightened. "He'll destroy his own fleet, just to take us with him." Rhea didn't hesitate. "He's cornered. Cornered commanders make extreme choices." She straightened. "Signal all vessels, split formation. Half of Dawnstrike draws fire from the carrier's frontal guns. The rest converge on its ventral stabilizers." The bridge stirred with tension. The risk was obvious. Holt considered the plan only long enough to accept it. "We'll need perfect timing." "We'll have it," she replied. "Tell the fleet, this is our one shot." The order spread like a pulse through Dawnstrike's comms. Seconds later, Terran ships diverged into two distinct vectors. One group shot upward, firing controlled volleys to drag the carrier's attention skyward. The other plunged beneath its blazing hull, engines pressed to their limits as they sought the vulnerable underside. Rhea moved toward the tactical console. "Match the carrier's charge cycle. When its energy peaks, its stabilizers will strain. That's when we strike." The carrier reoriented, its massive cannons turning toward the upper group. Blinding blasts ripped through the field, lighting the rocks like flash fire. The shockwaves scattered fragments in every direction. Several Terran ships took grazing hits, shields shimmering under pressure. Holt gripped the railing. "They're trying to knock us out before the core destabilizes." "They're failing," Rhea said. "Keep the pressure on." Beneath the carrier, Dawnstrike's lower group accelerated. The stabilizers glowed with volatile current, for large structures arranged in a ring to control the core's containment field. Now they were buckling under the strain of overcharge. "Admiral," sensors reported, "the carrier is nearing critical threshold." "Good. Prepare synchronized fire." The Resolute dove closer, weaving between spreading arcs of distorted light. The carrier's hull groaned under its own growing power, metal plates warping, conduits bursting like arteries under immense pressure. Kavor Resh's furious voice burst through open comms. "Terrans! You think you can survive what comes next? I will bury this entire region in fire." Rhea answered without flinching. "You misread us from the start." The carrier's core screamed, an audible vibration shaking every hull in the vicinity. The stabilizers flickered wildly. "Tactical," she said quietly. "Begin countdown." Lights dimmed. Engines held steady. Dawnstrike ships maneuvered into firing position. 5 seconds, the officer announced. "Stabilizers showing severe instability." 4. "Structural integrity dropping." 3. "Core reaching critical." 2. "Targets locked." Rhea raised her hand. 1. She dropped it. Terran cannons unleashed a concentrated storm of fire. The beams converged from multiple angles, slamming into the glowing stabilizers with pinpoint accuracy. The structures ruptured almost instantly, erupting into white-hot shards that spiraled into space. The carrier lurched sideways, its overcharged core unable to remain contained. Kavor's horrified snarl echoed across channels. "No, no, stop! The core!" The detonation triggered inward. A blinding flash swallowed the carrier's center as its main containment collapsed. Instead of outward vaporization, the energy folded into itself, crushing machinery and snapping entire decks inwards. The carrier imploded in a violent cascade, releasing a shock pulse strong enough to knock nearby Dominion vessels into spirals. Dawnstrike braced. Shields flared, energy screens holding against the blast. Several smaller asteroids shattered into dust that drifted in glittering clouds. When the light faded, the Dominion flagship was gone, reduced to a twisted, flickering wreck. For the first time since the battle began, the Dominion chatter fell silent. Then panic erupted. Retreat! The carrier is lost! No predictive models, no formation structure, fall back! Rhea watched their formations dissolve. Ships scrambled in disarray, abandoning any sense of coordinated withdrawal. The controlled menace of the Dominion had shattered into pure, frantic survival. Holt exhaled, stunned. They're breaking, Admiral. Completely. No, Rhea said softly. They're realizing. And she was right. The remaining Dominion vessels reeled back as if recoiling from a predator they finally understood. They had attacked expecting effortless conquest, and instead collided with a fleet forged in hardship, sharpened by loss, and driven by a will they never accounted for. Rhea opened a fleet-wide broadcast. Dawn strike, advance. Do not pursue beyond the belt. Disable engines where possible, no needless destruction. Her voice echoed with controlled strength. She wasn't looking for vengeance. Only an ending. The Terran fleet moved with coordinated precision, striking exposed engines and severing thrust systems. Dominion ships flared, spun, or drifted powerless, but alive. The few who still had propulsion fled in fractured, chaotic vectors. Within minutes, the battlefield belonged entirely to humanity. Holt approached, his voice quieter than usual. It's over. For now, Rhea replied. The adrenaline ebbed from her voice, leaving something steadier, deeper. But they won't forget this. He nodded. Neither will we. The Resolute drifted through the settling debris. Sparks of dying energy flickered across broken Dominion hulls. Dawnstrike vessels moved beside them, battered yet unbowed. A transmission appeared, Governor Lathan from Argion 4. Admiral Vance, is it safe? His voice held disbelief. Yes, she answered. The threat is gone. Your people are safe. The governor's breath shook. Thank you. The entire colony owes your fleet everything. Rhea didn't respond immediately. She looked across the battlefield, her mind returning to the memories of Argion 3. This time, no colony burned. No families were lost. This time, Dawnstrike had arrived in time. Holt placed a hand on her shoulder in quiet solidarity. You did what you came here to do. We all did, she said. The fleet gradually regrouped, engines humming at lower output. Damaged teams scrambled to repair scorched sections. Medics tended to the wounded. Messages of relief flowed from Argion 4. Then a final report arrived from sensors. Dominion vessels have left the system. All remaining signatures withdrawing at full speed. Rhea allowed herself one long breath. Transmit to Terran High Command. Frontier secured. Dominion attack repelled. Holt smirked faintly. And what do we call this engagement? She watched the drifting wreckage of the once mighty carrier. A revelation, she said. For them. As Dawnstrike set course toward Argion 4, the last remnants of battle faded behind them. Word would travel rapidly, through Terran space, through Dominion channels, through every listening ally and enemy. A truth too clear to ignore. The Dominion had challenged humanity. And humanity did not crumble. Humanity rose.